Now, Romarick, I know you got some great guests coming in today. Talk to me.
After the break, we're going to have Deanna Alsdorf from Foothill Family Shelter, and she's the Community Development Coordinator. And she's going to be talking about the opportunities her organizations are helping with now for the unhoused families. Joining us in studio now, I have Civil Rights Institute of Inland Southern California Executive Director Sabrina Gonzalez. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where did you grow up and how did you get into the nonprofit?
Awesome. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. So I actually grew up in historic Mariloma, which is now named Jurupa Valley. So it's not too far from here. And
how do you feel about that?
Well, I wasn't a big fan of the name change, but I think that's just part of your hometown when you get excited about, that we have a certain name and then it changes. And it happened when I was away in college, so it made it a little bit more difficult as well.
Oh, it must have been a culture clash when you came back.
Exactly.
So you grew up in the new Jurupa Valley, and how did that get you into the nonprofit?
So I grew up in a really wonderful supernuclear family, but I still think that I was really raised by community, mentors, teachers, coaches, and all of that. And so when I went off to college in Boston, it was a huge culture shock, and I didn't quite know, what it was going to do when I came back. And so through, the mentorship and whatnot, I fell back into education and then later found myself in the nonprofit world. And I think for me, it was just important about giving back to community. And that's why I fell into this position as executive director for CRIISC.
And if you're just checking in now, that's Sabrina Gonzalez, executive director of the Civil Rights Institute of Southern California. And you said CRIISC.
Yes.
Right?
We say CRIISC because it gets a little confusing. We're not the IE, we're Inland Southern California.
Okay.
And so we like to tell folks CRIISC.
CRIISC.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to say CRIISC. If you get confused again, that's the Civil Rights Institute of Southern California. Now let's talk about the organization itself and what you guys provide for the community.
Fantastic. So we are the centerpiece of a 92,000 square feet plaza called Mission Heritage Plaza. And we are an exhibition center, a media center. We have this wonderful diversity center, and we have a walk of fame. And recently we are highlighting a digital archive. So we are really, our biggest mission is to kind of inspire folks of all ages through uplifting historic and ongoing civil rights stories.
Okay.
Fostering community advocacy and just championing future leaders.
We can get a little bit deeper in that. Let's break that down a little bit more.
Yeah.
What does that mean in people's terms?
Exactly. So we're super unique space, but an exhibition center means that we're telling these stories. So we've built out a variety of exhibitions. Our very first one was called Still Our Eyes, The Black IE Fight for Justice. Our next exhibition was called Working Coachella, and it told the story of our farm workers.
Okay.
And then we had one that was called San Bernardino Photography Now, and it talked about art and history and the blending of that. And then our current exhibition is called Homegrown Heroes, and it highlights 25 stories of 27 of our regional leaders and folks that just had a huge impact on civil rights that a lot of us just have no idea about.
Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are starting to wake up with the new administration and the climate going on right now. I mean, I can only imagine the exhibitions you will be having coming up in the near future. You want to talk on that a little bit?
Sure. So one thing that we're really proud of is that we are collecting oral histories from folks' perspective. So Homegrown Heroes actually highlights those individuals telling their story,
right,
which is huge for us. But we're also turning them to virtual exhibitions. I think for some folks, the climate is a heavy, drastic change, but this work has been going on for so long. So it's less about the new stories, but rather highlighting that in order to champion the future, we have to be cognizant and honest about our history, especially here in the region.
Well, absolutely, because it just seems that we keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And I believe that's the same thing as insanity, expecting different results. So if you're just checking in right now, that's Sabrina Gonzalez, Executive Director of Civil Rights Institute of Inland Southern California, CRIISC. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did. You got it. Perfect.
Beautiful. Why is it important to have these situations?
Absolutely. So in addition to the exhibition center where we're telling these stories, we also have a diversity center, and that's really where we're building out community connections. Our space is dedicated to discussing without disparaging, ensuring that we can disagree but without being disagreeable. And so although some might view us as like a museum, we really like to say we are a living enterprise based in history. So you're looking back, but we have to see how that pertains to what's coming up in the future. So we have events, we have panels, we have tough conversations, we have folks, showing up for each other in unique ways so that we don't repeat the worst of our history. And then we also acknowledge that folks are ready to do the work.
I'm pretty sure Elon Musk was high on that list of conversations. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think we try to focus on regional conversation. And so we want to draw people in. So we kind of have a mindset that we, at the space, we lead with curiosity and we're leading with calling folks in.
Right.
So we can have these conversations and we can move items forward, because even though we can disagree on topics, our bigger goal is to cause pause so people can rethink and actually show up for community in positive ways.
Right. To my point is that I think the greatest fear is that this community started out as one of these hubs for those type of activations. So I think when you see that nationally on TV, this is like, I live in Fontana, where it was like the home of the Hells Angels.
Yeah.
Certain things like that.
And the KKK walked through the streets in the
all
1980s.
Day long.
Absolutely.
So this goes back from the history to now. And seeing it now, I thought, I almost forgot about it, to be honest with you. I almost thought it was done. And then to see it on TV, it did trigger some things on that. Checking in right now, it is Sabrina Gonzalez, Executive Director with the Civil Rights Institute of Inland, Southern California, CRIISC. Let's talk about some events or things that you have coming up.
Yeah, before we get there, I just want to quickly touch on that piece you were mentioning. Our Still I Rise exhibit, that was the beauty of it, was that we weren't denying those history pieces.
Right.
We actually had a photo of the KKK walking through Fontana, because we need people to see that. So when you talk about current things, these aren't actually brand new, but this is a reason why we need to stick together.
And there's a history of
have
it.
Conversation about it and move things forward and be honest about it.
And I don't know if you saw the news about Ukaipa, but they're all in on this new situation with the Confederate flags and just making it known that, to your point and to the reason why we need exhibitions and diversity centers like yours is that it needs to be more spoken about. I just think they don't understand how much racism there is in the world.
And systemic portions of it. And
and a lot of it comes from generational training. A lot of it comes from generational trauma. I mean, a lot of it just comes from the way the system is designed.
Yeah, and hold ourselves and our community accountable
that part.
For where do we move, where do we do the work, where are we having conversation, where are we bringing the folks that say something casually or make an inappropriate joke, and then have the space to build that out and call folks in for better conversation and holding each other accountable.
And this would be the time to do that, because I think we're losing the grasp on having accountable conversations. I think everybody's in the form of just blaming something other than what the actual reality is. We can go into the February 25th, or we could talk about your Black history. Which one do you do first?
Let's start with the 25th because it starts sooner. So we have a couple events that are going on at the end of this month. We want to make sure, I think Black excellence should be celebrated year round.
Yes.
But we also should uplift this, especially those events that are happening this month. So February 25th, we have a Seeking Justice panel where we're going to have two attorneys moderated by a retired attorney discussing workers' rights and what that looks like for community, hopefully providing some support and expertise for others. On February 26th, we're collaborating with Empower You Edutainment for a Black History Month celebration. There'll be some gospel singing and some other elements.
And where is this going to take place?
That all happens in our diversity center.
Okay.
We're located in downtown Riverside. I say if you follow your tummy, we're across from Tio's Tacos. And if you're into reading, then we are directly across from the main library.
I wanted to get into your virtual world websites and just discuss a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're really excited that sometimes when you have marginalized communities and they're put up in an exhibition space, when it comes down off the walls, people forget that those stories happen, like you mentioned Fontana, things like that. So we actually raised the money and we worked with the Gates Foundation to turn all of our exhibitions into virtual worlds. So if you go to our website, inlandcivilrights.org, we actually have links where those stories will live on in perpetuity. So we're going to be able to continue to tell those stories, have people engage, interact. And our big goal is to work with ethnic studies teachers and get them in the classroom so that these stories aren't lost or forgotten and that we can minimize the reproduction of history.
Another case in point to the new administration, I mean, I think that would fall under the critical race theory that they're trying to abolish. It's just so crazy, like all the things that we need, they're trying to get rid of, and all the things that we don't need, they're trying to give us.
We're committed. We know, we aren't on the front lines. There's so many smaller local organizations that are doing that direct advocacy, but we want to be a space to uplift them, to tell those stories. But we're committed as a Civil Rights Institute to keep telling these stories. We're not deterring from it. We want to make space for others to be involved in it. And I think that's all we can dedicate ourselves to is the commitment confident that we will continue to tell these stories in the various forms that they need to be told.
Nice. And that's Sabrina Gonzalez, Executive Director of the Civil Rights Institute of Inland Southern California, CRIISC. Now, are you looking for any volunteers?
Absolutely. We're always looking for volunteers. You can come in and work on our archive. You can come in and do tours. We have docents that come in and show the space to folks. We've had researchers, things like that. We do internships. So absolutely, please reach out to us if you're interested in volunteering. And we have events, like I mentioned, the first two, but we also have the Black Arts Museum. We're collaborating with them for a big event on the 28th to talk about Black Star visionaries.
And what time does that start?
6 p.m.
All right. And it's in the same building?
Yep, same building, and all of our events are free. The goal is that we want to minimize the barriers to people to know about their own history.
Especially now, right?
Exactly.
For sure.
So you don't have to pay a thing. You just come visit us and hopefully walk away with some more knowledge.
And if you are looking for more information, make sure you do contact them at info@inlandcivilrights.org, or you can call them at 951-682-5307. Any shout outs or mentions before we get out of here?
I want to shout out my godson, Gabriel Diaz, aka Oso, and tell him happy 5th birthday. Love you, papas. And just want to say thank you to our wonderful board members. We also have a wonderful team in the community that continues to show up for us. So thank you so much.
Perfect. It is the Community Collective here every Sunday morning. If you have a community outreach program, a community leader, or just a great community story, you can contact us at 1047cs@gmail.com. Or if you want to say good morning, get a shout out, or just hear your voice on the radio, call us at 909-619-2932. It is the Community Collective. Good morning.
Hey, it's Michelle from Ontario. I just wanted to give a shout out to my bestie, Michael. He's working in Pomona today. So just want to say, hey, hope you have a good day at work, and I'll see you later on. Okay, bye.